This isn't a tip, it's a warning, because what I'm about to show you doesn't just sharpen your mind, it strips away what makes you normal. You'll start thinking 3 moves ahead, you'll stop trusting people, and maybe start using them. This brain hack doesn't just make you powerful, it makes you dangerous. And once you cross that line, you won't come back the same. Now, before we dive in, I've broken this video into 3 parts, so you know exactly what's coming. First, we'll uncover the brain hack itself, what it is, how it works, and why it's more powerful than you think. Second, we'll explore its dark side, the part no one talks about, the part that turns strategy into manipulation and influence into control. And finally, we'll learn how to master it for power, for protection, and to make sure you're the one pulling the strings, not being tangled in them. Let me introduce you to a brain function that only a small percentage of people use consciously. It's called metacognition, the ability to think about your own thinking. Now, that might sound abstract, so let's break it down. Most people are stuck in what we call level 1 thinking. They react, they feel something, and they act on it. They get angry, they yell, they feel nervous, they avoid, they feel confident, they speak. But a mastermind operates on level 2 thinking. They don't just feel, they watch themselves feeling, and they don't just act. They ask, why do I want to act this way? Is this emotion helping me or hurting me? What will happen 3 moves ahead if I say this right now? This is the difference between a pawn and a chess player, between a person who gets played and a person who plays the board. Let's give this more value by breaking it into 3 key metacognitive skills. This is where emotional intelligence truly begins, not with controlling your emotions, but with understanding them. Most people live in emotional autopilot. They feel a surge of anger, anxiety, shame, or frustration, and they react. No pause, no processing, just action, and that action often becomes a regret. But a metacognitive thinker does something different. They step back from the emotion. They observe it instead of being swallowed by it. They don't just ask, what am I feeling? They ask, why am I feeling this? And is this even the real emotion? Let's break it down. Most people say, I'm angry, but that's a surface label. It's like looking at smoke and assuming you know where the fire is. A metacognitive mind goes deeper. It asks, am I actually angry, or am I embarrassed in trying to defend my ego? Am I upset because something bad happened, or because I feel powerless and can't control it? Am I irritated with this person, or am I really just tired, hungry, or anxious from something else? This level of self-inquiry might seem small, but it's the beginning of all self-control, because the moment you can name the real emotion, you create space between the feeling and the reaction. And in that space lies power. You are no longer a puppet pulled by emotion. You are a player making calculated moves, benefits of emotional labeling. Avoid saying things you'll regret. When you label the true emotion, you catch yourself before the outburst. You don't snap, you evaluate. Remain calm under pressure. Emotions lose their grip the moment they're named. Even saying, I feel overwhelmed, reduces intensity by activating your rational brain. Understand what others are really feeling beneath the surface. When you practice emotional labeling on yourself, you get better at doing it with others. Someone who seems angry might actually be scared. Someone who seems distant might be ashamed. This insight gives you leverage, not just to connect, but to influence. Quick exercise. Label in layers. When you feel a strong emotion, pause and ask yourself. 1. What is the emotion I'm feeling right now? 2. What triggered it? 3. Is this the true emotion, or is there a deeper one hiding beneath it? 4. What unmet need or belief is fueling this emotion? Do this daily, even for 30 seconds. You'll be shocked how much more control you gain. Remember, unlabeled emotions control you. Labeled emotions obey you. This is the first move of a mastermind. Awareness before action. Your thoughts are not just background noise. They're the blueprints your brain follows. And if you're not paying attention, your mind will build a life around patterns that were never chosen by you, only inherited, absorbed, or installed. This is why thought tracking is such a critical metacognitive skill. Most people don't think their thoughts. They receive them, like mental notifications they never unsubscribed from. I'm not good enough. This will never work. They probably hate me. Why even try? What if I fail? And the worst part? They don't question these thoughts. They believe them. They assume, if I'm thinking it, it must be true. But here's the metacognitive truth. Not every thought is yours. Not every thought is true, and not every thought deserves your attention. How thought tracking works. It's like installing a security camera inside your mind. You don't let just any thought walk in and rearrange the furniture. You check its ID. You regularly pause, especially during emotional spikes, and ask, what am I thinking right now? Awareness begins the moment you shine a light on the thought. Is this thought helpful or harmful? Even if it feels real, is it useful? Is it serving you? Is this based on facts or fear? Fear-based thoughts tend to be exaggerated, repetitive, and emotionally charged. Fact-based thoughts are clear, neutral, and stable. Example. Let's say a thought hits you. I'm not good enough to try this. Most people internalize it. They don't even realize it was just a mental reflex, but a mastermind pauses. They step back and ask, where is this belief coming from? Did someone say this to me when I was younger? Was this installed by failure or fear of it? What actual proof do I have that I can't do this? This simple line of questioning does something powerful. It breaks the loop. It slows the spiral. It turns a passive thought into a conscious choice. Why this works? The brain science. When you track your thoughts, you shift activity from the limbic system, your emotional brain, to the prefrontal cortex, your rational decision-making center. This creates distance between you and the thought. That distance is freedom. You're no longer the thought. You're the observer of the thought, and that observer gets to decide what happens next. Bonus technique, thought journaling. At the end of the day, write down one toxic or limiting thought you noticed. Then break it apart. Where did this come from? What evidence supports it? What truth contradicts it? What new belief do I choose instead? Over time, this practice rewires your mind. You stop being driven by subconscious fears and start being led by conscious strategy. Most people walk through conversations blind. They hear words, but miss meaning. They react to tone, but miss intention. They see faces, but miss the tiny fractures behind the smile. But a metacognitive mind, it doesn't just participate, it observes. This is the art of strategic observation, where you split your awareness into two channels. Channel 1, you're fully engaged in the interaction, talking, listening, expressing. Channel 2, you're quietly watching everything unfold like a social chessboard. This second channel is where the game really begins. What you begin to notice, micro reactions, a flicker in the eye, a clenched jaw, a twitch at the corner of the mouth. These are real-time tells, leaking emotional truths, hesitations, pauses before answering, changes in voice tempo. These signal uncertainty, internal conflict or deception, power moves, who's interrupting, who's mirroring who's leaning in and who's retreating. Status dances are constantly in motion. Emotional triggers, certain topics or words spark reactions stronger than expected. These are buried pressure points, waiting to be exploited or healed. Fake smiles, forced laughter, over-explaining signs of discomfort, guilt, or someone trying too hard to mask intent. Why this works? Your brain has what psychologists call the theory of mind, the ability to simulate what others are thinking or feeling. But most people only use it unconsciously. They feel something's off, but can't explain why. Metacognition upgrades that instinct into a weapon. You start catching social patterns before they lock you in. You start seeing people not as they appear, but as they are. It's like putting on X-ray glasses for human interaction. Real-life example. You're in a meeting. Someone laughs at your idea a little too loud. Most people would either laugh with them or shrink back. But a strategic observer thinks, that wasn't about the joke, that was dominance disguised as humor. So instead of reacting emotionally, you pivot, you redirect attention, you raise your value, you win without even playing their game. And here's the twist. This is how manipulators operate. They watch your face when you speak. They note your hesitations. They test your reactions, like a scientist running experiments on your emotional wiring. But here's the catch. With the same awareness, you can disarm them, or you can become one of them. Because strategic observation is a neutral tool. It can be used to protect, guide, lead, and connect. Or it can be used to deceive, dominate, manipulate, and control. That's where the line between mastermind and monster begins to blur. Your daily practice, silent observation. Try this today. During your next conversation, become the watcher. While speaking, ask, what are they really responding to, my words or my energy? While listening, ask, what aren't they saying out loud? After leaving, ask, where was the power? Who had it? Who gave it away? Do this enough. And conversations stop being random. They become strategic arenas where every move has purpose. Most people walk into a conversation hoping to be understood. Masterminds walk in trying to understand the terrain. So ask yourself now, am I watching the room or is the room watching me? Am I playing the game or being played by it? Because in the next section we go deeper into the shadows, where this same tool becomes a method of control and awareness once used for wisdom becomes a weapon. Are you ready to meet the monster? Before we dive into part 2, grab your copy of the Whispers Handbook. I wrote this myself, loaded with tricks you can start using right away. From outsmarting others to planting ideas, owning any room and manipulating conversations, it's all there. And that's just the beginning. I've pinned the link in the comments. Just visit and unlock all the powerful techniques waiting for you. Grab your copy now. Now let's go deeper into the darkness. You've seen how metacognition can make you calm, strategic, powerful. But what happens when someone uses this ability without empathy? When they don't want to understand people, they want to use them. That's when a mastermind becomes something far more dangerous, a monster, because the same awareness that helps you improve yourself can be turned outward into a weapon. When a manipulator uses metacognition, they analyze emotions like tools. They study you, your reactions, your insecurities, your deepest fears, and then they do one of 3 things. Exploit it, make you feel worthless so you rely on them for validation. Exaggerate it, trigger your worst fears so you stay paralyzed and obedient. Mirror it, pretend to feel what you feel so you think they get you. It's terrifyingly effective. Example, a toxic partner might say, you know, no one else would ever understand you the way I do. Translation, you're too damaged for anyone else to love. Stay here where I can control you. It feels like comfort, but it's really a cage. And that's the monster's genius. They trap you with your own emotions, planting ideas in people's minds without them realizing it. You've seen this in politics, advertising, even relationships, but you probably didn't recognize it because it's designed that way. Thought inception works like this. Instead of telling you what to do, the manipulator guides your thinking until you believe it was your idea all along. They use subtle cues, loaded questions, and repetition to install ideas. Example, instead of saying, you should break up with your friend, they might say, It's crazy how often people stay friends with someone who doesn't really support them. I could never do that, but hey, everyone's different. It plants a seed, and when that thought blooms, you water it, thinking it was your own. They don't control your body, they hijack your mind. Using silence to create psychological pressure. One of the most underestimated dark tactics is calculated silence. In the hands of a monster, silence isn't absence, it's presence. A presence that makes you feel uncomfortable, unsure, guilty. They delay responses to texts just long enough to make you anxious. They stare without replying, just long enough to make you second-guess yourself. They speak slowly, with long pauses, forcing you to fill the silence and reveal more. This is how they dominate conversations without raising their voice. Example: you confess something personal. They go quiet, just look at you. You start rambling, backtracking, apologizing. Now they've flipped the power. You're exposed and they haven't said a word. Sometimes the most powerful move is saying nothing at all, rewarding and punishing behavior to create control loops. This is where monsters don't just manipulate moments. They program you over time. They praise you when you obey. They withdraw when you question them. They give affection in small, addictive doses. They create emotional highs and lows that feel like love, but are really controlled. This is the same strategy used in cults, toxic relationships, and psychological abuse. Over time, they create a behavioral loop where you crave their approval and fear their disapproval. Example: you disagree with them once, and suddenly they're cold, distant. You apologize, and they're warm again. Next time, you stay quiet. They didn't need to punish you again. You've already punished yourself, pretending to be weak to disarm and manipulate. Here's the twisted part: not all monsters look powerful. Some wear the mask of victimhood. They'll overshare emotional stories to build trust. They'll act helpless to get support. They'll say, "No one's ever really cared about me," so you feel obligated to prove them wrong. But it's a trap. They're collecting information, building emotional debt, and slowly making you responsible for their feelings. And once you're hooked, they twist it. "I can't believe you'd hurt me like this after everything I shared." Now you're the villain in their story, and they're still pulling the strings. So you see, metacognition is not good or evil, it's just awareness. But when awareness is paired with ego, pain, or a thirst for power, it creates monsters who walk among us in plain sight. Some wear suits, some wear smiles, some say they love you. So ask yourself this: do you really know who's behind the mask? And more importantly, do you know who you become when no one's watching? Because mastering this brain hack means facing the darkness inside you first. You've seen both sides of the coin, how this brain hack can make you a strategist or a manipulator. But the real question is, how do you master it for yourself? How do you build the kind of mental discipline that protects your mind from manipulation and sharpens it to the point where you always stay 10 steps ahead? This is where real power begins. And no, you don't need to be a monk or a neuroscientist to master this. All it takes is awareness, repetition, and the right tools. Let's break this down into 4 powerful techniques that will help you sharpen your mental edge, strengthen your emotional control, and build the kind of psychological armor that makes you unshakable. When you take a third-person perspective on your thoughts or emotions, you engage your prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for decision-making and control. This shuts down reactive emotional loops and activates strategic thinking. Practical use: start narrating your mind like an outside observer. When you feel emotional or confused, ask, what is he feeling right now? Why is he reacting this way? What does he actually want in this moment? Yes, refer to yourself in the third person. It creates mental distance and reduces emotional bias. Example: instead of thinking, I'm freaking out about this presentation, you think. He's nervous because he's overthinking the judgment, but he's done the work. He'll be fine. It calms the storm and gives you control. Repeat this in tense moments before interviews, arguments, or decision-making. Reflection activates the default mode network, a powerful brain system tied to insight, memory, and pattern recognition. It helps you catch repeating behaviors, emotional triggers, and subtle manipulations others use on you. The technique. Every night before bed, do a 5-minute rewind. Ask yourself, what was my strongest emotional moment today? What triggered it? Did I react or respond? What could I do differently next time? Bonus layer. Keep a mental moves journal. Every day, write one moment where you either outsmarted an emotional reaction, noticed someone trying to influence you, used metacognition successfully. In 30 days, you'll have a record of your evolution, like mental battle logs. Most people assume their thoughts are facts, but many thoughts are simply mental echoes of fear, trauma, or influence. When you treat every thought as true, you become a prisoner of your own mind. The fix. Start categorizing your thoughts. Is this a fact or a feeling? Is this thought helping me or hurting me? Who gave me this belief? Did I choose it or was it planted? Power phrase. Whenever you catch a negative or limiting thought, respond with, "That's just a thought, not a truth." Example, you think, "I'm not good enough to lead." You respond, "Interesting thought. Who gave me that belief? What evidence do I have that it's true?" This breaks the loop and installs a new pattern, questioning the program instead of obeying it. When you focus deeply on another person's behavior, body language, word choices, and emotional shifts, you activate what psychologists call theory of mind. This is your ability to simulate what's happening inside another person's head. When paired with metacognition, this gives you next-level social intelligence. How to train it. In every conversation, split your awareness in two. Part 1. What am I thinking and feeling right now? Part 2. What is this person trying to get from me, emotionally, socially, or intellectually? Start asking, what emotional state are they in? What are they trying not to say? What behavior of mind just triggered that reaction? Real-life application. This technique helps you detect fake compliments or manipulation, read people's hidden insecurities, influence conversations without force. Example, you notice someone constantly seeking approval in a group. Instead of reacting, you mirror confidence. Give small validations and lead the dynamic because you now see the game behind the game. Mastery formula. 1. Pause. Interrupt automatic thinking. 2. Label. Identify the emotion or thought pattern. 3. Question. Where did this come from? What's the agenda? 4. Choose. Respond strategically, not reactively. 5. Reflect. Learn from every interaction. This is your metacognitive loop. Repeat it daily and your mind becomes sharp, cold, and unbreakable, like a forged blade. This is how you protect yourself from manipulation. This is how you take back control from your old patterns, toxic people, and emotional chaos. This is how you rise above the noise, mentally calm, emotionally in control, and strategically dangerous. Master metacognition, and you'll never live on autopilot again. You'll become someone people can't predict, can't provoke, and can't play. If you found this valuable, don't just watch this video. Train your mind, because the difference between being controlled and being in control starts with awareness. Like this video if you're ready to operate on a higher level. Subscribe if you want more deep psychological tools like this, and share this with someone who needs to wake up and stop being a pawn in someone else's game.